Deep concentration here. And the ball lands in the net. Determination written all over his face. Well, it was a combination of Ljubičić taking direct action on that early Berdych serve, the first of the set, and Berdych just making a few more errors in that game to give him the only break he needed. Here is the fourth set.
So important for Berdych to get off to a good start in this set. The loss of the third won't worry him too unduly if he can continue to serve well and be aggressive off the ground.
Well, Jason, is this a slight weakening in resolve?
Certainly appears that way. And were he to lose his serve early in this set, then I think he would be in all sorts of trouble, really.
Well, he knows the importance of psychological blow that would be struck if he, Ljubičić, could get this early break like he did last set. No, he won't. Not while Berdych is doing as well as that.
And again, it's the combination that Ljubičić can't seem to handle. That wide serve to the deuce court and then the big forehand inside out into the open court. It's worked so well for Berdych in this match so far.
Yeah,
well, that's Berdych of the first set again.
And of course, in any match that you play at any level, it's so important to stick with a winning game plan once you find it. And in the first couple of sets, Berdych was returning serve exceptionally well, and he was causing Ljubičić all sorts of problems. He was being very aggressive. He was contacting the ball just behind the baseline when Ljubičić got a first serve in, but then stepping just up the court a little more in order to return the second serve very aggressively. But in the third set, he changed his tactics, and I'm not sure why. He was giving himself a little bit more time to return the first serve, and he wasn't anywhere near as aggressive on the second serve return, so he really played into Ljubičić's hands.
So the ace can't reach his 18. Well, I do remember a volley like that early in the match that he hit and pushed it deep. An awful volley. It cost him his serve.
Seems to be a little more confident now, and therefore he's timing the ball a little better and choosing the appropriate shot selection too, which is always a very good combination.
really has taken him 2 sets to get into this match, which is an inordinately long time. Somebody who's had as much tennis and emotional stress as he has. But he's really motoring now. One all.
Ljubičić will be disappointed because he worked hard to get back into the rally. Berdych surely should have done more with the lob. But Ljubičić here had an opportunity to hit over the backhand instead of just chipping it back in play, which allowed Berdych to come into the net once more. And Ljubičić failing with the last attempted backhand, usually one of his favourite shots.
Well, the footwork, which he's been working on with his coach Navratil, letting him down there. Falling back off the ball. But he cannot believe how so many of his attempted passes and drives today have failed him. Well, the young giant really battling down there. And the 2 aces, numbers 9 and 10, taking him ahead 2-1.
Well, it's matched now at a really interesting stage because Berdych, of course, has the advantage of serving first in this set. And if he continues to serve as well as he did in the last game, then obviously he'll have every chance of holding serve. And the longer that this set goes, and the more pressure he will be hoping to be able to put on Ljubičić, who of course will be serving to stay not only in the set, but also the match. And if he gets a look at any second serves, then of course he'll be looking to try and exploit the errors that Ljubičić has made from the back of the court today, particularly off the forehand side. But Berdych will feel that having lost that 3rd set, he certainly won't want to lose this 4th set, because that would give Ljubičić a distinct advantage going into the 5th, given that the momentum then would be firmly in his favour. So it's a very, very important passage of play now that we very much look forward to in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so.
Well, a lot of noise today from the fans. They have their favourites here, and she's just spotted herself on the large screen, which hangs high above the centre of the goal. There it is. 4 faces it has, so that everybody in the place can see it. It cost about €2 million to construct that 4-screen complex. No breaks. 1-2. Well, at least not biting his nose, biting his accreditation card by the look of it. No need to bite anything as long as his man goes on playing as well as this, and Berdych getting frustrated now by Ljubičić's improved form. It's been an improving game that Ljubičić has shown us today.
And that's why I think if it does go the distance and we do head into a fifth set, then he would certainly have to be the favourite to prevail.
20 aces, he said. A little bit careless, Berdych there. It would be extraordinary if he didn't have a patch somewhere of error.
Well, I've been impressed with the way that Berdych has taken advantage of anything short in today's match. Usually plays the vast majority of his tennis from the back of the court, but has enjoyed an awful lot of success in the forecourt today, won 15 of 22 points. And it's primarily been because he's been able to come in behind such an effective approach shot.
Well, a brave try, but a wonderful volley from Berdych.
And it was terrific anticipation as well, and cutting right underneath the ball in order to impart some slice on that drop volley. And you can see just how low the ball stays on this court surface. Very little chance for Ljubičić to make the distance, let alone play a half-decent shot when he got there.
Yes, a little shake of the head there from Navratil. He didn't really get down to that low ball. A very important point for both. 2-30. Sensibly, Ljubičić stood miles back to receive it, to make quite sure he was going to get that back in court and make Berdych play another shot. It's worked. Great point.
Merci.
Oh, what a terrific serve, and a very courageous tactic to come in behind it. Ljubičić did well to make Berdych play one extra shot in order to win such an important point.
He believes all right. 216. That's 134 miles an hour, and his 11th place.
Well, Berdych just wanting confirmation that that backhand was out, but it was well wide. Terrific tennis from both players. Berdych surely will feel he should have done better. Ljubičić doing well to stay in the rally, but Berdych really having 2 or 3 bites at the cherry and unable to get the job done.
Oh yes, long. Well, he's human, only 20 years of age, and never been in this sort of situation before. And it is beginning to show. An uncomfortable error and another break point. And there goes his serve in rather typical fashion, refusing to compromise and making another error. It's given Ljubičić a 3-2 lead in the 4th set.
Well, Ljubičić there, a little fortunate, I felt. Did well to stay in the game, as long as he did, but gifted a few cheap points by Berdych, and I think that's the problem, really, when we're talking about the youngster from the Czech Republic, whose ranking is 44 in terms of the champions race, 50 in the entry system coming into this week, and there's got to be a reason for that. We know he's a very talented individual, but he hurts himself more often than not, and that's the problem, and that's been the problem in the 3rd and the 4th sets of today's encounter. He will not compromise, as you suggested. He will not put a little bit of extra spin on the ball in order to try and make sure he doesn't give away a free point. He continues to hit the ball relatively hard, relatively flat, and likes to be aggressive from the back of the court. And the problem is, when you get a little tight, a little nervous, then that can mean that you make an awful lot of unforced errors, and that's exactly what happened in that last service game, and now he's really up against it.
Well, he must really now be wondering how on earth he's let Ljubičić back into the match, which is exactly what he has done. It's been his errors, really, and missed chances in that last game. But he's still got work to do, Ljubičić. 1 break ahead at 3-2. Well, very professionally at the moment. Going about his job purposefully, without any fuss. Just getting that job done. Taking no silly risks. 40 love.
And the serve really now working its magic. Won all 10 points in this set when the first serve's gone in. He's only missed 3 of those.
Ljubičić.
Wonderful kick on that one.
Manœuvre, s'il vous plaît. Ljubičić mène par 4-2.
Well, that was a terrific moment for Ljubičić to savour that kick serve that got him to 4-2 in this 4th set. But what he's going to try here for is a second break, so that he can save as much energy as possible, because that must be the only worry in his mind. Well, for his part, it's essential, of course, to throw the onus back on Ljubičić, who may yet get a bit tight when he's trying to close out a set. Admirable. What a terrific service game that was. There are no laps there. He's tightened up his concentration again. It may be too late, mind you, but at least he's still in there with a chance. It's 4-3.
Well, it was a good service game, but the problem is he's got to break Ljubičić's serve, and the Croat has lovely variation, both off the same ball toss, so very, very difficult to read. You don't have much time to react to the big flat one up the tee. 206 kilometers an hour this one, which means that you've got just over 6/10 of a second to react to it, and the ball getting a nice height off the court. And the trouble is you can't then edge over to your left in order to try and get that one back in play, because you can serve the same off the same toss, a slice serve, and got a little more time to read that one, 8/10 of a second, but it does take you right out of court. And that's the trouble, because even if you get that one back in play, it leaves the rest of the court open for the first ground stroke of the rally. So Ljubičić has used that serve very effectively in the 3rd and 4th sets, and that's been the difference really in his quality of play.
Well, life has a funny way of paying you back, doesn't it? He must now think that he has a very good chance of turning this match round after losing the first 2 sets. And remember what happened in Madrid. He won the first 2 sets there against young Nadal, and yet was beaten in 5. Well, the fans really now giving vent to their feelings, as they always do here. It's a noisy place at the best of times. God, the kick now on this second serve is brutal. And he's a tall man, is Berdych, but that was up head height. Well, this is much more like the Ljubičić we remember from Madrid, the serve being utterly dominant.
Ljubičić.
And his 21st ace takes him within sight of the set.
Ljubičić, men par 5-7.
Well, it's been an accelerating performance from a man who started quietly, looking tired and jaded, but now I think has got some enthusiasm and a second wind.
Premier service.
Well, I think the difference is really that at the beginning of the match, Ljubičić didn't respond well to his nerves and the pressure of coming into this match as the firm favourite, and he wasn't playing very well because of that. But in these last two sets, he's hitting the ball very sweet indeed. And I think that means that he now truly believes that he can win this match, because of course he's won so many over the last month or so.
And winning is a habit just as losing is. Though one has to say there are more members of the Monday Club than the Sunday Club. Well, it looks as if he's going to be thwarted. If he thought he was going to break here for the set and then start the final set on his own serve, he'll have to go mightily to turn this game round. And from his point of view, that's exactly the job he had to do. To win his game on serve convincingly and throw the pressure back on Ljubičić.
It was a game that Berdych had to win. In his heart of hearts, I'm sure, as you were mentioning, John, that he's a very confident individual, so he will believe that he can still win this final. But it's not easy when the momentum is firmly with your opponent, and that's certainly the case now. There's no doubt about the fact that Berdych isn't quite playing as well as he was at the beginning of the match, whereas Ljubičić, of course, is playing an awful lot better. And Ljubičić, of course, will be very cool, calm and collected here, because he served out an awful lot of sets in the last month or so, and should he be able to do exactly that in the next couple of minutes, then I'm sure, even though the score will be 2 sets apiece, that he will be the favourite going into the 5th and deciding set.
Well, this is very interesting, because during this change of ends, Berdych has asked for the trainer. And it's either a leg problem or a neck problem. It's a problem that he will have treated at the next change of ends. Looks as if it might be that left leg troubling him. Literally thunderous applause here. They're stamping on the floor of these movable stands. And the whole place is rattling, literally shaking here. Well, he seems to be stretching that left hamstring, and I'm wondering whether cramp is setting in. That's why he's called for the trainer, probably. He'll come at the next change of ends. Ace 22 and 2 points from the set.
Well, he served quite magnificently. All 14 points have been won when the first service found its mark, and he's only lost 2 points on serve throughout this set.
Well, a totally rejuvenated Ljubičić hitting a backhand winner. Only his fourth of the match and the first in this set, and it's brought him to triple set point.
S'il vous plaît.
It's only his second double fault of the day, too. And I don't think that Riccardo Piatti there will be particularly worried. It's still set point. There is the set. So after 2 hours and 22 minutes, Ljubičić hauls himself back to 2 sets all. The fourth set, 6-4. Well, the trainer has been called. Michael, the trainer, has come on to look at the left leg of Berdych, the hamstring, rather the quadriceps there. Looks as if they're giving problems. Whether he's torn something or whether it's cramped, we don't know, but it's something. And at the moment he's going through the assessment stage. He hasn't called for an injury timeout yet.
No, that's what's interesting. So I don't know whether it was a problem that he has had during the week that the trainer would know about.
Okay, when you're ready, let me know.
And it looks as if the injury timeout is going to be taken. The trainer, Michael, there has just told Romano Grillotti that he needs to treat the leg. Here we go. And he's done a lot of running today and twisting and turning and leaping and lunging, so hardly surprising that he's feeling something.
No, but what a nightmare for him, though, to go into this deciding set in the biggest match of his career, nursing an injury. And Ljubičić, in that last game, I thought it was interesting that he tried to bring Berdych into the net with that little slice backhand, and that meant obviously that he had to move a little more. And if you do have an injury there, Ljubičić is certainly going to be able to take advantage of it, because he had enough practice yesterday playing against Berdych, and we know that he can concentrate well. We know he's on a roll now. We know the momentum's firmly in his favour. So So I think this doesn't bode very well for Berdych.
It certainly doesn't, because we've mentioned the need for his footwork to be absolutely certain, and it's an area of his game he's been working on, Navratil told us, and with with an injury to a leg, well, it'll affect the footwork.
And it'll also affect the serve. The left leg, of course, is the one that you really push off when you make contact with the ball, and his serve in the opening 2 sets was outstanding, but he has struggled a little bit with not only the serve but also the inconsistency from the back of the court in sets 3 and 4, whereas Ljubičić has got an awful lot better. So this is a tough situation for him.
And he's wincing with pain there. Not surprised, those thumbs are going so deep. Biting the towel. Well, in the Napoleonic Wars, they used to give them rum to get them drunk, and when they had an injured leg that couldn't be repaired, they used to amputate it while they were awake, and then they dipped the end in boiling tar to seal it. And I once said to one of the doctors who was explaining this to me, I said, my God, that must have put a hell of a strain on people. He said, well, a lot of them would die. I don't think that Berdych is going to die, nothing quite as serious as that, but a little bit of wrapping now, just to try and give it a bit of support, but doesn't bode well for his chances.
No, and the other difficult thing is that Ljubičić needs to maintain his concentration now, because, of course, he's just won sets 3 and 4, the momentum's firmly in his favour. And it's not easy then to sit down at the change of ends for 3, 4, 5 minutes and maintain your concentration and focus and your intensity level, which he did so magnificently well in that last set, especially on serve.
Well, the 3 minutes is nearly up, about 30 seconds. That looks as if it's a bit too tight. Yes. And he's catching him under the back of the knee there. Well, there we are. Trainer's done his work, and battle will be resumed. And it will be Berdych, of course, who opens serve in this 5th and deciding set. Well, we shall be watching closely his movement. No sign of discomfort for that little leap for the overhead. Look. We'll be watching his serving and his movement. Well, terrific serving from the youngster here, who has a self-belief and a confidence that are quite wonderful for a 20-year-old who's never been in this sort of situation in his young life before. And a spectacular service game. Despite the half limp, Berdych won love.
Well, that was terrific stuff. He has been struggling a little bit more in sets 3 and 4 when holding serve or attempting to hold serve, because Ljubičić has been pretty consistent when returning the serve just behind the baseline. But it's the second serve that he's been looking to take advantage of, and he's given Berdych some different looks, because sometimes he's been stepping up the court to take the ball nice and early, and on other occasions he's been letting the ball drop, running around and using his forehand and or his backhand, whichever he prefers. So nice variation on tactics from Ljubičić.
Well, I would be surprised if he weakened. Now, despite all the tiredness that he showed earlier, he will have had a second wind, knowing that this is his last set of tennis before he has to go to Shanghai. I think there'll be enough energy there for a supreme effort and the first Masters Shield.
Well, he's serving so much better now. In the first couple of sets, lost 16 points on serve. In sets 3 and 4, lost just 9. And in that last set, lost just 3. So Berdych really up against it.
Ljubičić.
23 aces now. And as you say, the whole demeanour has improved as a result of the improvement in his serve. It's not uncommon that you often say that a player is as good as his serve on that day.
And of course, with the improvement in the serve, has been the improvement in his confidence. He's now able to strike the ball an awful lot better from the back of the court. In the first 2 sets, absolutely no chance of making those shots. But now, hitting the ball sweetly out of the middle of the racket. Only just. That's all that's needed.
Well, despite good footwork, he got himself in the right position, but he didn't seem to commit to it like he has been in the rest of the match.
And the strain, I think, is starting to show for the first time. Some negative body language there.
Ljubičić unable to keep a good length again in that last rally, something that has improved over the last 2 sets, but not in that rally. Well, a little limp towards the chair, but it didn't affect his service power there at all. And Berdych 2-1.
Well, this is a very difficult situation for Berdych.
Just take it off.
Under an awful lot of pressure anyway. Doesn't seem to be comfortable with the strapping on his leg. Can't obviously be doing him any good. And I think what he's got to try and come to terms with is that he's only going to play one more set, and that's him done for the rest of the year. And it's the most important set of his young career, so he's pretty much just got to go all out and try and hold serve as easily as possible and possibly be as aggressive as he can from the back of the court. There's no point in getting involved in these protracted baseline rallies. He's only going to be outmaneuvered. Ljubičić knows that he's injured, and therefore he's got to be as aggressive as he possibly can. The tactics, I think, in the game plan are obvious. Berdych needs to continue to serve well and try and hurt Ljubičić from the back of the court as he did in the first 2 sets of the match. Sometimes when you are carrying an injury, it can help to a certain extent because it takes your mind off the fact that obviously you're probably going to get a little tight and nervous given the enormity of the occasion. No breaks as yet in the deciding set. Ljubičić at 1-2. Well, that serve was a little short, but Berdych unable to move up the court to take the ball on. Just swinging in an attempt to generate pace.
Sweating with anxiety. Well, that'll help his coach. I do believe he's lost a little bit of belief.
I think the difficulty for Berdych is the fact that in the first 2 sets his game plan was clear and it was working, but in sets 3 and 4 Ljubičić started to play an awful lot better. Serve started to work for the first time in the match and he started to hit the ground strokes an awful lot better. So now Berdych, I think, is a little confused.
Merci. 15-0.
Ljubičić appealing.
Basta alzare la mano, però se no non riesco. Se non sei pronto, alza la mano se non vuoi che sia. Avevo già appena finito, però hai ragione, però se non sei pronto. If I'm talking way to serve. Yes.
Well, I think he thought he was quick serve there. I think that's what it was. I don't think it was anything to do with the decision on the call.
Fault.
Flexing that leg every now and again, Berdych. Well, he'd said last night that he would have preferred a best-of-3 match than a best-of-5, and of course you could see why. He would have been the champion already. Greater depth on the return, something that was lacking for so much of this match. Yes, too short again, the returner serve. No trouble holding there. And 3-2 for Berdych's final set.
Well, it was a positive end to the third service game of this set from Berdych, and this is how he played so effectively in the opening 2 sets. He was peppering the Ljubičić forehand, he was stepping up the court every time the Croat dropped the ball short, and he was serving well. And that makes it so much easier for him to implement his game plan, because he likes to keep the rally short, he likes to play aggressive, and he was able there to get the ball back behind Ljubičić, and we know that that worked well in the opening 2 sets. He does have good feel in the forecourt, and his anticipatory skills there were to be much admired. So, in the end, a relatively simple service hold, but still, he has this question mark in the back of his mind as to whether he's going to be physically fit enough to get the job done.
Well, Michael back treating this leg of Berdych. No extra time, of course. He's had his injury timeout, so just the 90 seconds at the change of ends, the only time available, and he hasn't strapped it again. He's got to try and forget it, is Berdych. Best thing he could do.
Si, s'il vous plaît, merci. Je suis prêt, merci. Merci.
Well, I don't know what the heck's going on up there. It looks as if somebody was being interviewed by a local television crew, was it? Bright light, but it's out now, serving with the new balls at 2-3.
Berdych at his very best when he's not only able to generate pace off the ground, but when he makes contact with the ball out in front of the body, and he's able to generate a lovely angle too.
A lot of players have said they're impressed by him, and they think he plays rather like Safin does.
We can definitely see the similarities there. The big serve, the lovely backhand when he times it well. He can go down the line with it or cross court. It's a shame that the defending champion wasn't here with us this week.
Well, I think he's here. I think he's going to be involved in the closing ceremony, but not on court. Or not playing on court. So much better now, this delivery. 25 aces, lots more winning serves that have been unreturned. That's more like it. Utter determination in the eyes of Ljubičić now. He sees that this is his chance for the first Masters title.
Net. Premier service. Ljubičić.
Well, there's no answer to serves like that. 198k, 123 miles per hour. And 3-all, ace number 26.
Well, just the 3 points dropped on serve in this deciding set so far, and just 3 in total dropped in the fourth set, so that area of his game now is really firing on all cylinders.
Well, my goodness, the number of aces, that's 15 for him. Mighty blows are being struck. Well, very much the modern game, this. Power aplenty. And if it is a little bit repetitive and one-dimensional, it gets very exciting towards the closing stages.
Premier service.
Well, no wonder his coach is happy with him, despite the leg that he's had treated. He's still very powerful on serve, and it's Berdych, 4-3.
Well, I think what everybody hopes in matches of this importance is that both players tend to play their best tennis towards the end of the match, and that's certainly what's happening here in this fifth set. Berdych is serving well, but Ljubičić has improved in terms of reading the Berdych delivery, so he's getting an awful lot more serves back into play now. Berdych is mixing things up nicely, coming underneath the ball in an attempt to keep it nice and low, because Ljubičić does use an extreme grip on the backhand, but still it's one of the best shots in tennis when he's playing well. But the Berdych double-hander is so like Marat Safin's, and we know that when the Russian's playing well, then he's virtually unbeatable on indoor court. This time last year, of course, he was a winner in Madrid and here in Paris. And Berdych, of course, looking to emulate him.
Well, there's an interesting sight. Berdych sitting with the towel over his head to try and keep his concentration absolutely focused. That's a pretty smart thing to do. I remember when Arthur Ashe and Jimmy Connors played that magnificent 1975 Wimbledon final. Ashe used to sit there with the towel over his head at the change of ends. The first year there were chairs for players at Wimbledon, 1975.
There certainly weren't many of those in the opening two sets, but Ljubičić now hitting his forehand very sweetly indeed, and that's because he's much more confident now about his chances of winning. And he's certainly moving a lot better now towards the end of the match, strangely, than he was at the beginning.
Well, I think even prayers wouldn't be enough to halt the Ljubičić stream of winners. And there's a certain sense of belief in his eyes now that there wasn't the two sets.
Ljubičić.
Well, this is where the ultimate test is in a 5-set match, 4-all in the fifth. How strong is your nerve? And that may be the answer to the likely outcome. Well done.
Well, that really was a terrific point. It's not easy when you open any service game with a double fault. It takes tremendous courage to stick to your game plan and execute it as well as this.
We'll learn a lot about young Mr. Berdych in this game and the succeeding ones. Well played.
There's some lovely feel at the net, and again some terrific ground strokes. This match has really come to life in this deciding set. Both players playing exceptionally well. Again, it's Ljubičić who's forced deep behind his own baseline. That's why the short volley was so effective, and then good anticipatory skills from Berdych.
Carl Gates.
That's the 17th ace from his racket.
Berdych.
Unbelievable. Well, if you wondered about the self-belief of Thomas Berdych, that answered it. Absolutely cool in the crisis and now leading 5-4.
Well, he won't play a better service game than that throughout the rest of his career, especially given the circumstances. He'll be delighted with the courage that he was able to show in executing his very positive game plan throughout that service game. And now what he's going to try and do is get at the Ljubičić serve early on in this next game, win one of the first 2 points, try and do something a little different, perhaps take up a slightly different position in order to return serve, do anything really to put Ljubičić off his stride, because he's been serving so well in the last 2 sets. He's won so many matches over the past month or so, and of course he's been at this stage in a Masters Series event where he lost to Rafael Nadal 7-6 in the 5th and deciding set, so he'll be anxious to try and reverse his fortunes. Well, that'll be easier said than done. Awful lot of pressure on him now, serving to stay in the match for the very first time.
What a year it has been. What a year it still is. Because for Ljubičić, this is not the end. This is the penultimate test. One to come in Shanghai, where he'll be one of the Elite 8. But for the moment, the test is one of his nerve now, as he trails 4-5. Well, that was very Safin-like, that backhand pass down the line.
Is that okay?
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. The great Roger Federer couldn't time his ground strokes as sweetly as Berdych did throughout that last rally. Some lovely footwork as well, so he was able to play his favourite forehand throughout with pinpoint accuracy.
0-30. Les joueurs sont prêts. Merci. Merci.
Well, this 15,000 size crowd absolutely full of admiration for Thomas Berdych. He has earned 3 championship points. What a moment here for Ljubičić. Surely the memory of Madrid must be with him here. 3 hours they've been playing. 3 match points saved. Yes, too short. And once again, Berdych earning the right for this title with another of those forceful forehands. Championship point number 4. He's done it! Well, what a magnificent finish from this 20-year-old, but what a cruel blow for Ljubičić. In 2 successive finals, Ljubičić has gone the distance and lost both. First to Nadal and now to another of the brightest young players on the planet, Thomas Berdych, who's come of age today in no uncertain fashion. Just over 3 hours it's taken him to fashion a 6-3, 6-4, 3-6, 4-6, 6-4 win that earns him a first Masters Series title. We have a new star in men's tennis.
Well, we said we'd learn a lot about Thomas Berdych's character in the last 10-15 minutes of the match, and I think the future is very bright for the 20-year-old, because he responded exceptionally well to an enormous amount of pressure. Can't have been easy on Ljubičić, who of course worked so hard after losing the opening 2 sets. He looked nervous, he didn't look as if he was moving very well, he looked a little jaded, but he responded so positively and served so well in the 3rd and 4th sets, but just didn't have enough to get the job done in the end. And it wasn't really because he played poorly when he got tight, it was because Berdych played so well. His service game at 4-all was absolutely outstanding, and then he was able to play so aggressively when returning the Ljubičić serve, which had really been unplayable in sets 3 and 4. And losing those first 3 match points really must have preyed heavily on his mind, but again he responded positively to eventually get the job done.
Well, that's one of the finest performances from a youngster in an important match that I've seen for a long, long time, probably since Nadal's great exploits this year, particularly at the French Championships. But here comes, along with Christian Beam, the president of the French Tennis Federation, last year's champion, with a knee injury that prevented him playing this year, Marat Safin.
Finaliste du BNP Paribas Masters 2005, le Croate Ivan Ljubičić.
And a terrific hand for the unfortunate Ljubičić for the 2nd Masters Series tournament in a row, having to accept 2nd best. And the fact that he's won 189,000 euros is totally immaterial. He'll have to put up with yet another of these Waterford crystal plates. Very nice they are, but nothing to compare with the Waterford crystal shield for the winner. Well, a huge ovation for this talented young Czech player who gets the Lucio Fonti tree, and the name of the winner will be placed on the tree. And on the branches, all the players that both finalists have beaten. A very unusual and beautiful present to put on the mantelpiece. But now from Christian Beam, the one they really want. The signification of real talent. If you can win one of these prizes, the Masters Shield, then you are a real player. A little matter of 378,000 euros goes along with that prize.
Well, it was a fantastic week for me, really. I didn't win it, but I made an unbelievable goal, which is reach the Master Cup, and also thank to Marat, because he's not playing, so I'm taking his spot. I mean, it was a fantastic week, really. I never mind losing in the final. Obviously, I would like to win, but I think it's a great achievement, and I would like to congratulate Thomas. Really unbelievable week. He killed us all.
J'ai passé une superbe semaine, ça a été une semaine extraordinaire, même s'il me reste encore la finale du Masters et la Coupe Davis, et puis c'est une grande surprise aussi d'avoir Marat à mes côtés aujourd'hui, et je voudrais féliciter Thomas parce qu'il a fait un superbe match.
I would like to thank my team. It was another fantastic week, and see you next year.
Je voudrais remercier mon équipe, ça a été une superbe semaine.
Not easy to be as cheerful as that in defeat, and he's a true champion in his own right. Remember, he's taken Croatia to the final of the Davis Cup
I would like to thank also to Ivan, because it was, I think, great final for me. It was the first final on this tournament, and yeah, it was a very nice match.
Je voudrais féliciter vraiment tout le monde. Ça a été la première finale de ce niveau-là pour moi. Ça a été vraiment un match fantastique. Bravo, Ivan.
And of course, it was a very nice week for me because I reached my first win on this tournament. So I'm very happy, and also I would like to thank to my coach and all the people who support me on this tournament. And also for all the sponsors, because if no the sponsors, we don't have this nice tournament.
Je voudrais remercier mon équipe parce que j'ai passé une superbe semaine aussi. J'ai passé une superbe semaine ici, atteignant ma première finale ici. Et je voudrais aussi dire merci également aux partenaires, parce que sans les partenaires, il n'y aurait pas de tournoi.
So I hope see you here next year. Thank you.
Et j'espère vous retrouver l'année prochaine. Merci.
Well, very nicely done. And Jason, we have here a young man of immense character. He showed that in the way he finished the match, well, the way he played the entire week,
Nous allons également
but particularly the way he finished a very difficult match.
No, we always knew that he was tremendously talented. He was a great athlete, but I think this week he's gone a long way to fulfilling that potential, and as you say, showed an awful lot of character in the latter stages of that fifth and deciding set. Would have been very easy for him to buckle. Let's not forget that he was injured as well in that deciding set, but he didn't let that put him off, and he thoroughly deserves this victory. It is a shame for Ljubičić. He's played tremendously well in the last month. He's got the best record of any player on the indoor circuit throughout the year, but he has his reward in qualifying for a spot in Shanghai.
Yes, obviously it meant so much to him, that, and I think there was a certain letdown in the first two sets today because of that fact, and he said as much yesterday, really, against a half-fit Berdych, which was an easy win for him, really. It was the only time he said he could relax. All the pressure had gone when he knew finally that he had one of those 8 places, and I think that affected the way he started here today after such a long and punishing schedule of matches.
No, but let's not take away how well Berdych started the match as well. He absolutely phenomenal he was on serve and from the back of the court, both the forehand and the backhand, and that's what impresses me most about him, is the fact that when he's playing well, there are very few weaknesses in his game. He was proficient in the forecourt as well, so I think his future is very, very bright on all surfaces. There's no reason why he can't play well on the hard courts of North America, on the grass courts of Europe in the summer, on the clay courts at Roland Garros, and of course indoors. So I think that he's going to be one of the very best players in the world for a number of years to come.
And I think we all thought that was possible when we saw him as a junior, but there were so many errors then, and all that work on the footwork, the fact that he's got stronger and wiser, means that he doesn't now take as many unnecessary risks and make unforced errors as he used to. But the cheers now are for Ljubičić as he marches off, disappointed but not dismayed, because there is still the Masters Cup to play for. But a wonderful end to this man's season. He'll finish up in the high 20s in the ranking when they are published tomorrow morning, something like 28-ish. And to start the year at that level next year will be a big plus. He'll be seeded in many of the, well, all the smaller tournaments, and he'll get a seeding at the Australian Open.
And no one will certainly want to play him because they know he's a very, very talented individual. And isn't this an unusual picture? For the 8 events prior to this one, it's been either Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal who's been leaning on the net on the end of the final Sunday. But Thomas Berdych now joins that illustrious list of competitors, and he will certainly now enjoy his off-season.
Well, he will, and it'll be a very happy memory of Paris. The first time he's played here, remember, so not many players come here and capture the prize for the first time of asking.
Sorry, bud.
Well, absolutely terrific scenes in this very noisy 15,000-seat arena, but a very happy time it has been. And just to confirm for you the final standings for 2005, the race which actually will be added to when these 8 go and play in Shanghai. These 8 will all earn points in Shanghai, but you have to say that Coria is just a little bit lucky to be there. He lost his first match to Berdych, but that wasn't so bad, having seen the way Berdych finished the tournament, to lose to the winner. But he is there, and so too are Davydenko and Ljubičić, the last to qualify.
And of course, we're hopeful that all 8 of those players will compete throughout the Masters, Tennis Masters Cup in Shanghai, but it's Gaston Gaudia who will be the alternate, because of course Marat Safin is still suffering with that knee, and therefore he hasn't been able to take his place, although he would have qualified finishing inside the top 20. What a year it's also been for Robbie Ginepri of the United States, who's enjoyed so much success, of course, on the North American hardcourt circuits, and David Ferrer really has been a stellar season for him. He's enjoyed success on all surfaces as well as his beloved clay, and nice to see Thomas Johansson back at somewhere near his very best after the horrific injury that he suffered a couple of years ago.
Well, indeed, and we all hope that injury or illness does not strike in Shanghai, because that would be a very unfortunate and unhappy thing to happen, but we have no reason to think it will. Roger Federer, we know, is out on the practice court and training hard and practicing hard. We don't know whether the Hewitt babe is going to arrive in time to allow the Australian to be there. We hope so, but there it is. Well, it's been a superb week for us here. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of all 9 of the Masters Series this year. And of course, we shall be back again in exactly a week's time. Play begins in Shanghai next Sunday, and I hope you'll make a date to be with us then. So for Jason Goodall and Doug Adler, who are commentating here with me, and indeed for our production team of TPL, our director Dominic Gresse, our producer Jane Caswell, and all the crew, it is goodbye from Paris until we meet again